Breaking news!
A little bit of breaking news just happened, which is, as we were sitting here on the podcast on Wednesday afternoon, Apple sent out its invites for WWDC 2023. Curiously, that's exactly what we were going to talk about in this last segment. That makes it even easier because we get to overanalyze the invitation, which I'll describe for our audio listeners, but our video listeners are looking at it now, appears to be a series of lenses in concentric circles, which, if you've ever seen a VR headset, is just what they look like from the inside.
That's true.
It's a bunch of concentric lenses and circles in a lens in a VR headset.
Now I see what you're talking about.
True.
So,
Okay.
It's also the rainbow at Apple Park.
It is,
Yeah.
of course, and that's probably what they would all say. But
Yeah.
come on, we all
No,
know
I know.
it's
It's like supposed to be both.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Oh, and that's the Apple logo.
You got it.
Wow.
You got it. And it says WWDC. So that's where we're at. I think what's a little more interesting is we are expecting some sort of a mixed reality headset or something like that. And the story behind it is really interesting, which is, as secretive as a company as Apple is, it's kind of leaked out that like they're really pushing to have the headset ready to go by WWDC. And it doesn't seem like it's actually going to be ready to go, which is something we've heard about other previous products.
Sure.
Famous, well, I was going to say the famous original iPhone launch story is like Steve Jobs at the last minute going, you know what? We can't do resistive. We need a glass capacitive touchscreen. And that being a last second pivot and that being a huge differentiating factor for the iPhone. And this might be Tim Cook's moment of like last second, get this thing ready to go. We're late. We need it to ship. It's happening now. For Apple's mixed reality headset, whatever it's going to be. But yeah, there's a lot of turmoil. Some apparently employees have left the project. Some questions being asked inside Apple HQ. I'm very curious about it.
Yeah, the New York Times had an article just saying about how there are some engineers and people working on the project who are expressing a lot of doubt on the release of the device and whether or not it's ready. And like you said, some of them have gone as far as like exiting the actual project.
Yes.
But I do believe there's a rumor that they showed it off to about 100 investors or something, or board members in January. And now that it should be launched, or not launched, announced at WWDC.
So this is the thing, because like
Yeah.
WWDC, first of all, is a worldwide developer conference. It's where they go over software. It's where they talk about code, apps, possible new platforms, things like that. And so if you announce a product at WWDC, notoriously Apple announces a product and it's ready to go shortly after. Announced today, shipping in 2 weeks. Announced today, shipping this Friday. That type of thing. It would feel kind of un-Apple-like to go, hey, WWDC, new AR, VR platform, developers start your engines, but the product isn't coming till next year.
So here's something that I read in this article that I don't think we've talked about, and maybe you guys have seen it other than I have, but two things I've learned from here that Mark Gurman said was, one, that the device is going to cost $3,000.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But it also seems like this is a developer. This is like specifically a developer device. Yeah. And that, remember we talked about once there was rumors already of the second gen?
Yes.
That will be the consumer cheaper version. Yeah, that we'll see next year. So this is potentially, and makes perfect sense for WWDC, a like developer only product.
Yeah.
But still costs the developer $3,000?
Yeah.
And then the public can't buy it?
No, you could.
Because you know what happens
Like
when
the
Apple...
MetaQuest Pro.
Right. So Apple announces products and like if they show it on stage, people are going to try to buy it.
For sure.
So if it's available to the public, you know how there was like that
remember the
early
Magic
Apple
Leap?
Silicon Mac Mini or whatever it was, and it was like, if you want to develop for Apple Silicon, you can get this developer kit. It's the early Apple Silicon Mac Mini. People all over the internet were like, "Can I buy one?" It's just a developer
Well, you
kit.
could though if you had a developer account,
Right?
Which only costs $100 a year.
Right. So is this going to be available to the public, encourage development, or is this a developer-only product that you spend $3,000 on a developer kit?
I think it's that. Because Tim Cook is specifically interested in AR and not nearly as much in VR. And that's why they've been pushing all of this insane AR stuff like every year with the iPhone, with LiDAR and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
I think that they understand that the most useful AR applications right now are for like business and manufacturing and all of that kind of stuff. And they also are going to need to build out an app ecosystem because this is an entire different type of device.
Yeah.
So if they release it strictly to developers at the beginning with a $3,000 device, like Andrew said, they cut the price down by making it cheaper over the next year or two, and then eventually it trickles down to consumers. It's sort of like the original Apple Watch was really bad.
Yeah.
And people still bought it, but it would have been, if it was any other company besides Apple, they would have just canceled the product, right?
But they had long-term aspirations with apps being development,
exactly,
and things like that.
And Apple has long-term aspirations where maybe on Gen 5 or Gen 6, that's when it's like affordable enough for mass adoption.
I mean, and even Gen 2, like I think the 3,000 price tag might be part of, like, I get what you're saying in that is this developer only, but people are going to want to buy it anyways. If you throw a $3,000 price tag and also say like, this is a developer like tool, essentially. Yeah. Remember Magic Leap? Like Magic Leap didn't come out as like a full-blown consumer. You could buy it, but there were all the stipulations that like, this is for developers and they're creating things on it and like, it's not going to be perfect. So if you throw a price tag, $3,000 is crazy.
It's high enough to stop regular people from buying.
Exactly. The MetaQuest Pro was $1,500 and is already $500 cheaper.
Okay, think of it this way. Will it be in an Apple store or not?
I don't think so.
I doubt it.
Maybe like a product demo.
I don't think that Gen 1 will be in an Apple store.
I would put
I think Gen 2 will be in an Apple store.
I agree.
Okay.
What if they're going to make it a really cool platform for people who develop in other AR platforms like Meta's Spark and stuff like that to become like a part of their toolkit, you know, like maybe even if I'm sure Apple's going to release some sort of their AR development platform, but I could see that like if you were an AR studio and this is the best headset you could buy, 3,000's worth it.
Then you would do it, but you'd have to go through. Yeah, it's just interesting.
I think as a developer, it's worth 3,000.
Yeah, I think the presentation is going to say everything about this. Like if they go on stage and it's WWDC for the first 45 minutes, and then the last 15 minutes were like, we've been working on these new VR, AR experiences that connect with what we've been talking about with LiDAR, with the iPhone, and if you want to develop apps for a new experience, we've got this developer kit. It's a $3,000 kit. Here's a little image of it. Okay, goodbye. That's like just for developers. And then you never get to see it in stores. They just continue development in the background and get it in the hands of developers who actually make the apps, and they hope they get a killer app out of it, and that's awesome. Or it gets presented as something that we should buy. We should be interested in. It's $3,000.
I think it's the
sounds like we
first
don't
one.
expect that. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's the first with a little more. I feel like they'll have to show it a little bit, not just be like, this is it. I think they'll show a little bit of like, this is why we think AR VR is like the future, and here's some things we're already doing with it, and here's how developers can use this to create things in that scenario.
This is why I think we're actually been getting so many leaks about the second generation. I wouldn't even necessarily think of it as a second generation. I would think of it as a developer model and a consumer model.
Yeah.
Like it's way cut down.
For sure.
But as long as you put up something for developers to actually work with, then eventually people will buy the cheaper one and they'll be able to use the applications that the developer model built.
I guess we all kind of expect an eventual consumer-facing Apple mixed reality headset to still be expensive.
For sure. Yes.
That's why I don't think any of us like were totally shocked at $3,000. But I think if they're going to go into a store and start selling this to people, it's got to be less than, it's got to be $1,000. It's got to be like $1,200, something like that, because it's an iPhone accessory.
Right. MetaQuest Pro in 6 months has dropped 30% of its price. So like that's a really tough price point.
It'd be quite ironic if Apple launching this saved Meta as a company.
Well, it's also funny because the competition is going to be really interesting. Most people today do not buy $1,000 VR headset. Most people buy a Quest 2 or something like $100, $200, and that's good enough. And you get to play the games and you get the controllers, and it's plastic and it's fine. And I don't know that there is any set of expectations or competition right now for a $1,500 iPhone accessory headset.
I do think that Google Glass Even Enterprise Edition shut down last week. And right now there is no competition in the landscape of like AR for enterprise, AR for actually useful stuff besides like the Vive, but that's not mixed reality. That's I mean there is a mixed reality function. But I think that like there's very little competition in that space. And if Apple can actually get into this like manufacturing space, which Apple's always been a consumer only company, but if they're able to get into a space where like huge companies are buying, you know, like Accenture levels of this, where they buy 15,000 of them, that's like a big cash cow.
I do think this is still going to be like full goggles. I don't think this is going to be like the glass. There have been a lot of rumors.
But it's mixed. It'll still be full goggles, but it is focused on mixed reality more than than virtual reality.
Yeah.
I just don't see Apple doing anything halfway. Like, they're not going to open a brand new product category in their store in the next 5 years without this model being the one to get people excited about it.
Right.
So I
Just
think
like the
when they
Gen 2.
announce something on June 5th or whenever it is, they're going to try and like hype it up. Like, this is the thing.
But this is why they do it at WWDC.
Yeah, I don't think this is
Yeah,
going to
because
be.
they need the developers.
Right,
It's not
exactly.
it's not to get the consumers excited. It's
Yeah.
to get the
Yes.
developers developing.
Right.
But I don't think this is going to be something you see in
the store.
stores.
No.
I
I
could
think
see it
I-
in like the flagship stores. Like if you go to
consumer-
the Fifth Ave store, I could see a little corner where
I
they're
think
showing this off.
that it's
I
just
don't
a
think they'll
demo?
Gen 2.
Yeah, like a demo with like, because they already
don't
have
think
like
so.
a couple games.
I'm gonna.
They've been
yeah.
working on this for years.
Yeah, I think they probably have already looped some developers in and have had some games or some experiences that they've been working on that they will be able to show on stage in order to go, hey, the rest of you developers, you've got your ideas going around, right? You're going to want to do this too. And so they get to making whatever they think is good for AR, VR. And maybe in the stores, they get to share some demos with people with the ones
I
that
don't
already
think
been
so.
working on.
I think the next, like you said, it's hard calling it next gen, but the consumer version later, I think that's what goes in stores. This is just kind of like you said with the silicone one that they just never announced that.
Yeah, the
like
Apple
this is
Silicon
for
Mac.
this is for people to start building on. So when they do release the consumer one, that's what.
And we're all
it
just
has stuff
hyping it
on
because it's a new Apple product.
because we're
It's a new Apple
nerds.
category.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
But it's also interesting that like this could be a really interesting moment for Tim Cook because like he is like full blown like all sail ahead on AR and the fact that a lot of the employees that are even just like working on the project are like, I don't know about this is like it's kind of like a make or break it moment.
There's a really interesting quote I have in here from the Times article that just says, some internal skeptics have questioned if the new device is a solution in search of a problem, unlike the iPod, which puts digital songs in people's pockets, and the iPhone, which combine the abilities of a music player and a phone. The headset hasn't been driven by the same clarity.
Yeah.
Just thought that was a really great quote that I don't think any of us see Apple seeing a lot.
Yeah.
It also makes me, you said this is an iPhone accessory. I think it's going to be
Dedicated.
standalone.
I think every Apple product in the world
Okay.
has to be tied to the iPhone.
I can agree with you on that, but it's just like the clarity there at least is. I do agree with that. I don't think it's going to be like you need an iPhone to do this. You can do it by yourself. I'm sure you can do it by yourself.
I just think like when there becomes competition, because when Apple comes out with a headset, boom, expect 7 more headsets from Samsung. Everybody else is going to make headsets in the same price category, in the same range. And it's like now what differentiates the Apple one? If you have the developers and the apps, that's good. But if you have a couple of things, which is what Apple does, which is like, if you have an iPhone, it's connected to your account and like all these things work well with it. And suddenly you're taking a FaceTime call on it. Like all these things are going to be plugged in to that ecosystem for sure.
Yeah, I'm just making the difference between like that and like how Nreal is like glasses as an accessory. Like it just shows what's on your phone. I think it'll be able to do everything by itself. It's connected to your phone and has benefits of being connected to your phone, but it's still a standalone
I'll put
product
it
where
this
if
way.
you leave your phone in the bedroom, it'll still work in the living room.
Sure. I'll put it this way. It will be worse if you have an Android phone.
Yeah,
Guaranteed.
sure.
or just won't work at all.
It'll be worse.
It has one big thing going for it too, is that when the consumer one initially comes out, it will be sold in Apple stores. I think people
Yeah.
really underestimate how powerful that is.
But then you also have to do the thing that the HTC Vive did when it first came out in Microsoft stores, where you have to like wipe the lenses and clean it before people do a demo.
That
and
is
schedule a demo.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, I do agree that it's way, way, way easier to create an incredibly popular product if you are just taking existing standalone gadgets and mixing them into something more portable. But taking a category that people don't even really have a problem with yet and then just creating a solution for something that doesn't necessarily exist is definitely risky.
I mean, maybe it's just like the best fidelity, highest accuracy tracking version of kind of something like Glass or like Magic Leap or something that we've kind of already seen.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I am sad that Google Glass like had all those privacy issues, and that was the whole reason it kind of shut down.
Yeah, Glass had a camera on it.
Yeah, that was the problem.
Not great.
And even the Snapchat Spectacles had like the ring that would go in a circle, so people knew you were recording. But I feel like the category could have really moved forward if they had just not messed that part up.
There for sure has got to be like an angle from Apple where they explain on stage why it doesn't have a camera and a microphone.
Yeah.
And they go into depth about privacy, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll happen.
I don't think it matters though. I feel like this is you're not walking around with these on.
If
Yeah,
it's
you're-
AR, people are going to try it all kinds of places.
I feel like it's like AR like the MetaQuest Pro is like, it's like increasing your workspace that you're in, but it's probably going to be a big clunky set that you're not like walking around the street on.
That's true.
It probably needs internet connectivity and stuff like that. And
It's just something about having a camera and a mic that someone doesn't know if you're recording with it or not. It just makes people uneasy in general. So that'll always, like, if Apple puts a mic in it and doesn't tell you, that's there's just no way they do that. So they're gonna have to explain why there's a mic in it, or they're gonna shout out why they didn't put a mic in it. And I feel like it's gonna be the second one.
I feel like they will have a mic in it.
it has to have a mic and a camera in it.
don't
I think it's
so.
just, I feel like
It'll have sensors and things for tracking, but I don't know if it will have a mic.
I think it'll have a mic and a camera in it. I think it has to if you need to be in this like
uses
meta world.
continuity camera,
it's,
baby.
It's like AR and VR, right?
I guess
like
if
it's
you do
still
FaceTimes, you need
Yeah, if you need FaceTime,
What if?
it needs a microphone? There's no way it doesn't have a microphone.
But what if the mics are just in your AirPods?
or your iPhone.
You know, like what if it's designed
It'll probably have a
to
mic.
work with AirPods?
Yeah,
Become robots.
It'll probably need a mic for voice calls or whatever basic stuff. But yeah, cameras freak people out, so that was kind of doomed when Glass had it.
I just want to say, as someone who actually like, and you can roast me for this, but as someone who genuinely enjoyed the MetaQuest Pro,
Boo.
yeah,
I'm quick to
bring it on.
Yeah.
That thing gets your forehead so sweaty. The idea of taking it outside is like laughable. Like, forget the weight and the size and how silly you would look. You'd be just walking down the street sweating buckets. It'd be so funny.
Yeah.
There's just a gigantic gap in the form factor. Like the difference between that and Google Glass, which is just like, it's a pair of glasses with a prism and a screen. It's like I walk in and check the weather up in the corner of my vision. Like somewhere in there is an opportunity. Of course, that's how the companies see it, but like you've got to be good.
I think this is going to look way more like the Quest Pro than it's going to look like Google Glass. Way more goggles, full, giant, clunky, especially the developer version
And real
of it.
glasses.
No, I don't think it's going to look. It's going to be way clunkier than Unreal.
Interesting.
The developer model
I
for
think so.
sure.
I mean, all the like kind of renders, which I know have been around for forever, but they're full blown goggles.
A lot of them are just VR headsets, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see. I think we all remain healthily skeptical, and I am looking forward to WWDC, which we now have a date for, which is sick.
Wait, what is it? June
5th.
Okay.
June 5th.
which is 6th, no 5th.
No. Thanks for watching this clip. We're trying to figure out what we want to do for a Clips out. Thanks for watching this clip. We're trying to figure out what to do for the Clips outro, so I'm just going to throw it to Ellis and Adam and see what they think of.
I'm going to say that you messing that up is going to stay in the Clips
Nope.
outro.
Nope.
Adam is editing it.
Nope.
That's what you say for now.
Ellis, Clips outro.
Clips.
Hurry up.
Who
Not got a lot of time.
Who even
pressure.
watches? Oh, wait. Can we put this up without getting demonetized?
We can, in fact, do that.
Epidemic Sound, final answer.
Like and subscribe. Subscribe.
Leave a comment about what the
Is this Vane Sill?
No,
Sorry, Vane.
It's
This is
definitely not.
bebop,
I'm so out of rhythm.
bebop jazz with some calypso elements.
This is it's called
calypso.
Bebop Rhythm by Vendla on
knew.
Epidemic Sounds.
Bebop
This is
with
not
some
an ad.
I was right.
That trumpet is piercing.
I was right.
Piercing
was
my
right.
soul.
I said Epidemic Sound
I
at the
said
very
bebop.
beginning.
That is in fact how we won't get sued.
Nice.